Hello everybody, this is Andrew Whitfield from How to Sell Online Limited, and this is week number 4 of How to Sell on eBay. This week we're looking at staying safe and not getting caught. Very, very, very good idea to try and stay safe and not to get caught. I'm going to get straight on, and I've got a little treat for you. I'm going to give you a little bit of a video from somebody.
The reason I'm making this video, and this is actually probably the first and only video I'll ever make, is because I want to talk about my eBay experience. I'm fairly new to eBay. Well, I shouldn't say that. I started in April of 2012, and it is now September. I just received an email yesterday saying that my account has been shut down. Let me backstory a little bit. Since April, I've managed to climb up to bronze power selling status quite successfully with a 99% customer satisfaction rating, or eBay seller rating, or what have you. Anyway, the point of the story is I was doing very well, and I got a lot of traffic and a lot of interest in my store, and out of the blue, I received an email from eBay saying another buyer contacted us to let us know that they believe that one of your items isn't authentic. So that was that. So I tried to call. As a power seller, you know, we get more privileges in getting to the front of the line. So I did that, and I was nothing but kind. And they could give me no answer other than, I'm sorry, you're suspended for a year. That's it. So they said this time of year in particular, there are a lot of buyers out there, other sellers who will purposely try to sabotage other stores that are perhaps doing very well. And I'm only sharing this information to say I'm extremely, extremely frustrated. I've done everything ethical and right, and really prided myself with great shipping, great customer service, great quality items. One other vendor called me out on an item that they believed wasn't authentic, when in fact, this is the crazy thing, it completely was, but eBay wasn't having it. So that's my story. Really frustrated. So be warned, I was told that eBay they just got rid of 15,000 new users, and they're...
Well, I think we'll leave it there. We could listen to the lady who protests quite a lot for quite a long time if we wanted to. But there is a moral behind this lady's story, is that if you do not stay safe, if you do not adhere to the rules and regulations, eBay will take action on your account. And in all fairness, the dealings that I have had with eBay and the dealings that I've had with other people with accounts, for eBay to close somebody's account down or suspend them, they have got to have pretty good evidence to suggest that there is an issue there. There's a part of eBay called trust and safety. You will never actually get to speak to trust and safety. We will get to speak to a call center and the call handlers who will speak to trust and safety on our behalf. They're always kept further in the background, and they do that very purposefully, and the reason that they do that is purely to maintain the integrity of the platform, so that they do not get themselves personally involved with the customer base, and that way they can put things into motion that will deal with sellers and buyers that have particular issues. So with that in mind, the young lady's video there, and there's plenty of people like this on YouTube, feel free to go and have a look and see for yourself. But what I would say is that for these people to be saying they have been closed and suspended, they have got to have deteriorated in their workings with eBay, or there's got to be enough evidence and proof that something wasn't right for eBay to have taken that action. And they have, over the last couple of years, removed a lot of poor sellers. But that's a good thing, because if somebody is a poor seller, should they actually be selling on the eBay platform or even on the Amazon platform? So this particular one is looking at what we need to do to stay safe, not get caught, and remain with a good account. So what I'm going to do is start off with some of the basics. So let's pull this lady out of the way. And first thing you want to do is start looking at the rules. So if you go to eBay itself, and you can go to eBay's policies and help pages. I'll just copy that. I'm going to put that one into here for you. So if you want to go and have a look at that, that should now have popped up on the right hand side of your screen as somewhere that you can go and have a look at. So you'll be able to go and visit that part of eBay itself. I would certainly recommend you do it. The one thing that I did when I first started selling on eBay and I realized that there was lots of rules and regs, I actually went in and I went through all of the different policies so that I could get a good understanding of what I needed to do. And I still made mistakes. I still had some issues. Did you know that you cannot send catapults to Australia without somebody in Australia having a hunting license? We used to sell fishing catapults, literally bait feeders, to go into the middle of the lake. We sold them and we sent them all over the world. We'd bought a massive amount in from a company that had over-ordered from China. They over-ordered. They were supposed to have ordered 5,000. They ordered something like 50,000. I ended up with a very good deal on these catapults, and we sold thousands of them, as you can imagine, and Australia was a hot place to sell them. Until we found that we had one or two people coming back to us saying, haven't received my catapult, haven't received my catapult, haven't received my catapults. And we looked into it, and under the Australian laws for import, that was classed as a hunting item or a dangerous item, and the person that wanted the catapult had to have a hunting license, and if they didn't have a hunting license, Customs and Excise seized the goods and destroyed them. We were selling absolutely loads to Australia, but we were getting lots of negative feedback and bad feedback only for a couple of months till we actually got to the bottom of it, because customers were saying they weren't getting their goods. So we had to put a disclaimer in our listing, and anybody who ordered from Australia, because even if we took it off the Australian eBay site, they would still find it on the .com or the .co.uk eBay site, and they would still order them. So anybody from Australia, we used to send them an email, and I would probably say 95–96% of people did not have the particular license, and we would cancel the order, and they were very grateful for the fact we had told them that this was an issue. So you can easily get caught out. I got caught out with that one, and to me it was so silly. If I was sending a gun, a rifle or something like that, yes, I can understand it, but a fishing catapult for a bait feeder, it just seemed a little bit odd. We also used to sell a lot of those to Japan, by the way. Now that's another place where they love to purchase. So if you are thinking of overseas, also look at Japan. Japan is a great market for us. Anyway, let's get back to business, and here we are looking at the policies page. So know the rules. You need to really get into these. You need to make sure that you're not going to be doing anything naughty. Prohibited and restricted items is probably the biggest one. With the prohibited and restricted items, it may not be so much that it's an eBay issue, it may be a courier issue as well. If you have a petrol lawnmower and you want to send a petrol lawnmower and it's second hand, not many carriers will take it, purely because petrol, explosive, etc. Now, if you have, you know, these little party poppers where you pull a little cord and they go pop and you get those little streamers come out, because that little cord is an explosive device, they are actually classed as a prohibited item. You're not supposed to send those in the post. You can still get them delivered to you in the post, but nobody tells Royal Mail what they are. However, if Royal Mail scan them, look at them, or if you put it on a document that that's what you're sending, that is a restricted or maybe prohibited item depending upon the courier. Parcel Force won't take them. So there you are. It does seem to get a little bit silly, or appear to get a little bit silly. So you need to really get to grips with this type of thing. Now, just to give you a little bit of knowledge, if you're selling products where you're going to give bonuses, you've got to justify it. You've got to put the price at which the bonus is going to be, and it's got to be realistic. If you want to build up a mass of bonus type products to actually make something look really good, the best thing to do on that is to actually pick up the phone, speak to eBay and say to them, this is my product, this is my listing, do a dummy listing, because they can go into your account and they can look at the listing and they can take it away and they can say to you, yes, that is okay, or not in that format. I've done this many times with eBay and eBay's customer service team. I've spoken to them at great length over a number of different things that I've wanted to list in the past, where it has been borderline on the guidelines and on the rules and regs. So by being proactive and actually picking up the phone and speaking to them in Dublin, I've been able to get the answers that I need, so I either change the listing or I walk away from the listing, one or the other, and they will give me the information that I need. Always start off by asking them. It doesn't cost you anything other than a little bit of time, a phone call, and planning out the actual product or the item that you want to sell to make sure it is not going to be restricted. And of course, the main beauty of all of that is if you do make that phone call and you do get it cleared first, at least eBay will have a record of that, because it will be recorded as a telephone in and it will be recorded against your account. So if somebody else in eBay looks at it and says, no, that is, in my opinion, not correct, you can go back to them and say to them, actually, if you have a look at this particular date, or if you look back on the conversations with the customer service team and trust and safety, you will find in my file there is a note to say this was approved. So you can go back and you can talk to them. Now you can see that they're pretty good at the way they do it. Orange restricted, not allowed. So here we go, and looking at this, mystery cash, 20 envelopes, raffle tickets, £300 petrol card, £1 a chance, all that type of thing. Not allowed, simple as that. So it's more a case of looking at what's not allowed rather than what is allowed. That is the best bit. Now, firearms, obviously, firearms is something that is extremely restricted, and that's not just UK, but that's worldwide. So you will have different things in here. This is where it gets a little bit, what do I do? What is allowed? Plastic, rubber, and wooden ammunition. Snap caps, they're allowed. And yet, snap caps for some parcel services are actually restricted and prohibited items. Can you see what I mean? There is a little bit of looking and working out. Empty ammunition boxes, but the listing needs to say that it doesn't contain ammunition. What happens is, if you have an ammunition box and you put it and list it, whether you put it in the title with the keywords or whether you put it in the description, eBay systems and Amazon's and the other sites are geared up so they can pick out those types of words, and they will then flag a warning. And they will normally flag the warning to you as you list the item to say, are you sure that you are happy at listing this item because it's got this word in it? knife, gun, ammunition, whatever it may be. Once that goes through, it may then be physically looked at by a human being in trust and safety so that it can be approved. They will, without any hesitation, remove an item they're not happy with if they believe that your ammunition box has one piece of ammunition in there. Look at these areas and see. Explosives pretty much goes the same. Now, this is an interesting one. Knives. Dining cutlery sets that include knives for use for eating. So an ordinary eating knife is fine as long as it is part of a cutlery set. If the knife is not part of a cutlery set, it is prohibited. You cannot sell knives on their own. Letter openers fine, chisels, axes, saws, etc., they're fine. However, you will potentially still get a warning. But any other knives are absolutely a definite no-no. If you're thinking of going and getting kitchenware items where you might get a knife set in a block, sorry, you cannot sell those. Now, there's hundreds of those out there. In fact, there's more than hundreds. There's thousands of those types of kitchen block knife set things out there, but you're not allowed to sell them online or through eBay and Amazon. So you need to know when you go to purchase your product what not to have as well as what to have. That gives you a little bit of an idea. Whenever I've listed toy guns, and we used to sell toy guns a couple of 3 years ago, again we brought some directly in from China. Every time we had a relisting or a new listing on toy guns, when we brought the new models in, guess what? It used to flag up and say, you are listing a gun. Are you sure that you are okay to list this and that it is, obviously a toy gun? You need to be aware of this type of thing. This one here, offensive material. What is offensive material? What is offensive to me? It may not be offensive to you, etc., etc. Racially or ethnically offensive language, again, what is to me and what is to you may be totally different. So you have to look very, very hard at that. Historical items, reproductions, works of art and media, what is restricted, what is not restricted. If it's an antique, is it something that you can sell? If it's not an antique, is it something you can describe differently? Oh, this is one here. The term gollywog used to describe an item is okay unless it's used in a derogatory or offensive way. We used to import direct from China by the thousand. And gollywog on Robinson's Jam, which is where it all came from, etc., etc., massive seller for us. We used to sell hundreds of gollies, and we called them gollies. But the search term, gollywog, was the biggest search term for that particular item. They didn't search gollies, they searched the full name of gollywog. So you can see there is an awful lot here of things that you need to just go through. I wouldn't expect anybody to say, oh crumbs, I've got to go through this A to Z and it's going to take me forever. I've got to know absolutely everything. That's not the case. The thing to do here is to go through, have a look at the different areas and just get a heads up on it. Just skim read it through, enough so that you've got it noted in the back of your mind, and when somebody comes to you or you go out and you say, that's a brilliant product, I'd love to buy that, that would be a great seller, that when you actually go start talking to them, you're doing it from the point of view you've had a look and you don't get caught out buying some product that you cannot sell. Put my hands up, I did that. I used to sell, or I used to buy some knife block products. On Amazon we were fine to sell them for a while. On eBay we weren't, so we stopped selling them. I ended up with a reasonable number of those left as stock, which I had to sell out at a little bit of a loss so that I could get rid of them from my storage unit, my storage space. So from that point of view, just be aware of these things, and if you're not sure, take a quick look and see what the rules and regs are. I've put the link in there for you. You'll be able to go and fetch it. You can see it on your screen as well. It's up here. So you can go and look at the policies. Now, of course, there are other policies you need to consider, and it may be that you're going to send things out of the UK, and you may have to have a look at things that are going on in other countries. So you may need to actually look and see what you can send out. So you might have to go to, let's say, Australia. Now, just to give you an idea, this is so easy. Customs.gov.australia. So all I've put in there is Australia, customs, go there, there's a page. So if Australia is one of my target markets, then this is where I'm going to be having a quick look. There may be some products that I've got, and I might want to just check out what is on their prohibited and restricted import list. You can see straight away that there is a decent list there. What is it that I can? What is it that I can't? Now, ceramic ware, glazed. Who would have thought ceramic ware would have a restriction on it, or a potential restriction on it? You just don't know. There are certain things that have, certain things that haven't. But here you can go in and you can look and see. There you go, cat and dog fur products. They've got a restriction on them. Just go to the countries that you're looking at, whether it's the USA, whether it's Australia, and if necessary, go to the UK sites as well and the European sites. Get an idea of what it is you cannot sell. It will save you an awful lot of time and money when you're looking at the product line that you want to sell if you check this out first, purely because it's going to save you buying the stuff, putting it in a warehouse, putting it in your spare room, putting it in the garage, and then finding you can't sell it. It's that simple. Or you've got to sell it at a loss, as I had to do with the knife blocks, just to get rid of it out of my way. We're dealing with the bad news stuff here, guys, and I'm not making any apologies for it. This is the sort of stuff you need to know. This is the sort of stuff you need to get your head around, so that when you do actually come to doing some work online and selling, that you are able to do it from the point of view that you know what you can and can't do. You're not going to fall foul. You're not going to waste money. You're not going to waste time and effort listing. You're going to make a phone call. You're going to do a little bit of research, and you're going to go ahead and actually do what you need to do. There we are. That's all the bad news stuff. So you thought. Now then, eBay, and where are they now with all of their other rules and regs? So we now have the eBay money back guarantee. Brilliant for customers. Customer has automatic right of passage to say, I didn't get it. And you as a professional seller have to take the hit on the chin, as it were. What happens now is quite simple. Buyer purchases something from you, they're not happy with it, buyer then goes to eBay, eBay then refunds the buyer. If eBay believe that you are at fault, they will automatically credit the buyer and obviously retrieve the money from yourself. It's called opening up a case, and when somebody opens a case, you have got a specific amount of time to actually get the goods to them and for them to be reasonably satisfied under the distance selling regulations, which we will look at in a moment. The distance selling regulations are something that you have to abide to here in the UK and pretty much in Europe as well. But if the customer isn't happy, they can open a case. Just as I can open a case against somebody else. So in this particular account here, this person here purchased something off me. He didn't pay for it. After a reasonable period of time, which was around about 15 days, I opened up a case against that buyer because he hadn't paid for it. The buyer then paid for it and the goods have been sent to him. So he is fine. This particular buyer here bought a couple of items off us, and they opened a case because when the items arrived with them, they claimed that they were damaged and they didn't work. Now, in reality, we received the items back. However, when we got them back, the items were damaged. They were not the same as they went out. They were technically different. However, as we're reasonable sellers and good sellers, we knew that we were going to have to pay them back by the distant selling regulations. Either Royal Mail dropped them and broke them, or the buyer dropped them and broke them. I will never know. But as you can see, the reimbursement has been sent directly from my PayPal account to the buyer because the case was found in favour of the buyer. I had nowhere to go on this. The buyer said they were damaged when they were delivered. We asked for them to be returned at the buyer's cost. The buyer returned them. They were returned damaged, but they were also returned materially different to when they went out. I cannot say one way or the other where or how that damage occurred, but it is my problem. Nobody else's claims to have received damaged goods. He is entitled to a refund. I'm entitled to have them returned at the buyer's cost, which I did. So eBay have sent a reimbursement for the purchase cost of the item plus the postage that would have been applied at the time. So the outbound purchase, I have had to have that refunded. That roughly works out at around about 1 to 1.5% of our turnover where we have to do refunds like that. With eBay introducing this fairly new policy where buyers, it is so much easier for them to say, I didn't get it, it didn't work, etc., then it may increase slightly. So again, if you go back to the other side of things that we look at, you need to ensure that you allow for damages, breakages, non-deliveries. What eBay will do though, if a person claims on a regular basis not to have received the items that they've ordered, or that the items were damaged and they're consistently or regularly claiming that that is the case, eBay will normally close their account or suspend them. Because if they get a pattern of it happening too often, they need to make sure that you, the seller, are protected. Now, they may not reverse the refund because they won't be able to prove anything, but at least that buyer has gone and they're no longer part of eBay. They do protect us as sellers as well as the buyers. But of course, under the distance selling rules and regs, the buyer is the one that has the credibility. So let's have a look at distant selling regulations, just so you've got an overview of this. Now, of course, most of what we're talking about also covers Amazon and any other website that you'll trade from. Anybody that is actually making a purchase from you, and it is a purchase that is done at a distance where they do not walk through the door of a shop, physically pick the goods up, take them to the till and pay for them, that is governed under the distance selling regulations. And the distance selling regulations are quite straightforward and quite simple. If the customer purchases an item from you and they don't like it, as long as they return it in its original condition within 14 days, they're allowed to have a refund. End of story. Again, it's not a case of knowing it inside out. It's knowing the basics and knowing when somebody comes along and says, I want my money back, you've got nowhere to go. Don't fight it. You're going to have to build that in. You need to build it into your margins. You need to build it into your numbers. And you need to understand that they're entitled, if you're doing free post, they're entitled to the value of the purchase, including the postage. Because if it's free post, you can't go along and say, I sold it to you for £23.88. By the way, £3.88 of that was postage, so I'm only refunding you £20. You cannot do that. If you've sold it to them for £23.88, free post, you refund them £23.88. That's simple. If they state to you that they did not receive it, if you haven't sent it by a tracked method, they are entitled to a refund or a replacement. I have a rough rule of thumb. If somebody says to me I haven't received it, and we know we've posted it, and they've purchased it off any one of the platforms, what we will normally do is report them as a buyer and ask eBay, PayPal, Amazon, whoever it may be, to look into their history. We don't ever get a reply back, but we know that we've had one or two people that accounts have disappeared. So they can have a look to see if they've done that regularly in the past. And also, even if there is a signature, the fact that there is a signature, if they say, that is not my signature, it must be a forgery or somebody else's, it was delivered to the wrong address, your problem. They are still entitled to a refund and they're still entitled to a replacement. What we find is that most people in that scenario ask for a refund. So we draw our own conclusions. And my personal conclusions are that most of those are just out to take as much from us as they possibly can. What I'm saying to you is you need to be aware of all of this for yourself, because if you don't go down that route and you don't deal with those cases when eBay open them, if you don't do those refunds in a timely manner and you're forced to do so by eBay or PayPal, your numbers, your analytics, the history about your account starts to go downhill, so you start to lose ground. And if you lose enough ground, you're like that lady that we saw at the very beginning. You might have suspensions, restrictions, or account closures on your hands. So you need to be aware of all of this so that you don't have those problems going forward. Have a look at things like this, see what happens, get an idea of it, go back in there. I suppose this is another good one to put in for you, so you might want that particular link as well. So that will give you some more guidelines to go and look at. Just go through, find out what it's all about, get an idea, go through the FAQs, just get yourself a general understanding so that when you do have a problem, which at some point you will be able to know that you have done everything right as far as you can. It is well worth going that little bit further to actually get yourself to a position where you're not going to be struggling and fighting, and also to sit there and say, I take it, yep, I understand it, fine, not a problem, I take it on the chin. Now then, what they also do is they measure your performance. They will look at this, and this is one of our accounts. This is one of my accounts I use purely as clearance. So we don't do a great deal of stuff on this. It's very low key. It's when I've got stuff just to get rid of for whatever reason. So here, 1 out of 4 performance areas can be improved. We've got 1 case that's being closed without seller resolution, 216 transactions, which have been fine. We haven't had discount on that because we are not selling enough volume on this account. This is purely a clearance account. So you've got lots of tools in here that you can go to and have a look to see how you have been performing. And this is where eBay look at you and say, what is your performance? What is it that you've been doing? How well have you been doing? How good have you been doing? How bad have you been doing? And based on these evaluations, they will decide whether you're a top-rated seller, you're a premium-rated seller. You have got to have people giving you feedback. Now, when somebody gives you feedback, you have a star system. So if you've been a buyer on eBay, you'll know when you leave somebody feedback, you can leave them between 1 and 5 stars. 5 stars being excellent, 1 star being absolutely abysmal. If you leave somebody 1 or 2 stars, That then goes against what they call their DSRs, detailed seller ratings. If you have somebody that purchases an item and they do not believe in their opinion that the item was as described, and they leave you a 1 or 2 star, that is a mark against you. If you've sold them 3 items and they decide they're going to be really nasty because they've made a multiple purchase and they're going to say all 3 items weren't as described, your communication was appalling, your dispatch time was forever because you took 20 days to dispatch it, and you overcharged them by at least £10 on the postage and packing, you are going to get 3 poor DSRs. Now, you are only allowed 0.5%, so 0.5%. So if 3 people, and you've got 100 sales, or you've got 100 pieces of feedback, and let's say 3 people turn around and say, that was bad, you have got more than 0.5%. That means you're probably going to reduce your position within eBay, and you're going to lose your status. And if you were heading for top seller status, guess what? You ain't going to be anymore. They will take it off you. So you've got to make sure that you stay above. And if you do have somebody that comes back to you with a problem, you need to sort it. You need to make sure that your DSRs, your detailed seller ratings, do not go over 0.5% for a consecutive period of 3 months. So you got 0.5%. If you, over a 3-month period, end up with 0.51, you've just lost your top seller status. So there is a lot of things that eBay are looking at. Now there's also something else here. Now these are some of the old ways of doing it, but they're still there. Item as described. Whereas here, you're not allowed to get any more than 0.5%. In this area here, you have got to stay above 0.6%. So not only are you getting pressure from the top, from customers saying, I'm not happy, you're getting an upward pressure as well, because this is out of 5. Your total score in here is 5. And if the algorithm for working out the score says that you are less than 4.6, you are starting the slippery slope. And then you're not going to get to your power seller, you're not going to get to your bronze seller, you're not going to be able to get your discount band, because when you climb those bands, the different bands mean that you have different discounts on your final value fees. So let's have a look at mine here. Communication. My percentage at the moment is 1.26, 0.42, 0.84. So we've got some issues in there to address. This is one of our low selling accounts, so we're not too worried about that. It'll give us the areas for improvement. If your account is selling daily, item after item after item after item, you need to take care of those, and you need to make sure that you're running with it. Obviously, if you're selling volume, it's a lot easier to have a few people saying that was bad than it is if you're not selling volume. And then if you're only selling 20 items a year out of that particular account, one person saying that they're not happy with something, then that's very easy for them to actually affect your position. But again, it depends what you're using the account for. As I say, this account we use purely for clearance stuff. This is one of my low grade accounts, which is never going to be a big selling account. You can see you've got a lot of information in here to get to grips with, and you've got to start to know what you need to do. You need to get to grips with your detailed seller ratings. Look at where you are, what you're going to do. You can create reports, so you can run a report in here quite easily. You can get to the point where you are dealing with this on a daily basis. So get behind the scenes, get to understand all of this, and you will then be absolutely fine. You've got to understand what it is that is going on in your account. As I've said, that is vital. And whilst we're looking at things, you can then start to look at traffic reports. So you can start looking at how is your shop working. That's dealt with the negative. Now this might be the positive. So you can look, what are people doing? What is hitting your traffic? What are you getting from your customers? You can create traffic reports in here to see what is happening, what is going on, what are people looking for. You can get sales reports for your account. So you can go in there, where is the account, what is happening, how many have you had, what are they doing, where are they, what's going on, sales by month, the fees, what are the eBay fees, where are they, how much are they, what are the final value fees, what are your unpaid items reported as percentage of sales fees, etc. There are all sorts in there that you can do, so you can really get behind understanding your account. These are brilliant if you're doing volume sales. If you're not doing volume sales, then you don't need to worry too much about going into this area. You can just know that it's there, and as your volume builds, you can actually go and start making sure that you get where you need to be with your sales. So those are a couple of the areas. We've had a look at the bad stuff, we've had a look at the good stuff. Obviously, PayPal, people can also report to PayPal, so they could do a chargeback against you. So if they've used a credit card to make a purchase and it goes wrong for whatever reason, you could end up with a chargeback as well. So you also need to look into your PayPal account to make sure there is nothing in there. Now, the one thing we can do is we can report a buyer. They do make it so that it is a two-way street. Buyers can report sellers, sellers can report buyers. If you want to report a buyer, just go into your customer support, help pages, report a buyer. Simple as that. Then you can tell them what it is that you're reporting them for, and you can make the case from there. That way, of course, you're protecting yourself. And there are some buyers out there that just don't play the game, I'm afraid. It's a very small minority, but they're still there, so you need to know about them. So in here you've got customer support. Anything you need from eBay is in here. You've got normal stuff, put in a topic, reporting a buyer who's breaking the eBay rules. I think a buyer is misusing eBay money back guarantee. How do I report them? Well, it's all here. It's a click away. So that is what you need to do. Just go in, report it. You can report it very, very easily. And if you're not sure, when you go into customer support and you're thinking, how do I do that? I need to speak to Trust and Safety because I'm not sure about this item that I'm selling. You go there, call us, you'll get an 0800 number, and you'll get a passcode that you'll be asked to put in, and once you've put the passcode in, you'll be connected to an appropriate operator. And I've got to say, it's normally the call centre in Dublin, and the guys in Dublin, as far as I'm concerned, are absolutely fantastic. There are occasions when I've gone through to the States, I've gone through to India, I've gone through to London as well, but I've never ever had a time where I can say that I've had bad service from the eBay customer support team. I've had very constructive help and advice, and I've had very constructive support from the eBay customer service team. So I would never have a problem in saying to somebody, go to that particular call center and speak to them. Now, the other thing that you will get sometimes is feedback. Somebody will leave you bad feedback. Now, this is one of the things that I see on a regular basis, and I've just had a new client come to me with their eBay shop that we are having a good old look around at the moment, and there are lots of things that we need to do to help them get their shop to the situation that it needs to be. And one of the things I haven't been doing is replying or looking at the negative feedback that they get left. Now, they're a volume seller, and they're probably getting 1 to 2 negative pieces of feedback. But what they've done is they've just let all that negative feedback sit there, and they've done nothing about it. And what I'll do in a second is I will try and find one of the shops. I meant to get this ready for you before we actually came online. Now I need to find, let's have a look. This is a premium. Can you see that a lot of the premium are coming up top now? Now, a lot of people are saying to me premium isn't working. Premium is working. It is there. You need to get to be a premium seller. And if you're not a premium seller, then you need to actually look at that. So a free delivery option, a fast delivery option, 14 days returns policy, excellent customer service as rated by the buyers. So that's going back to your detailed seller, your DSRs. They're giving you the good feedback. The 14-day returns, the free delivery and the fast delivery option, those are things that you're doing when you're listing the items. Okay, let's have a look at this chappy here. Now, this one I'm going in completely blind. So let's have a look what this guy's been doing with his feedback. Now, he's going to have some negative feedback. There we go. So he has 2,344 for the month. He's got 12 pieces of negative feedback within the last month. Look at that. He doesn't care about his customers, does he? There isn't one piece of feedback that has got a reply. Every piece of negative feedback you get, you should leave a reply. And the reply should be, very sorry to hear your problem. We have refunded it. We have sent you a replacement. We apologize. You're not getting on your bended knees and crawling to them in an apologetic manner, waving a white flag. But what you're doing is you're being decent, because I, as a buyer, would look at this and say, okay, he doesn't care about his customers. He doesn't even look at his negative feedbacks. They're so busy sending stuff out, and I've just gone for the 12 months. Let's have a look. Let's get the 200. I've just gone back for the longer period of time, and there isn't one piece of negative feedback that they have replied to. I would not buy from this person based on that, and having that high amount of feedback coming in, I would not be too happy at all. So completely ruined my birthday treat for a niece due to their poor communication. Sent the wrong item. Replacement received after 8 days. Poor customer service. Avoid. People love saying avoid. Not paid full amount of returned item expenses. I'm assuming that's expenses, but then the buyer is responsible for that. Still waiting for my item. It's nearly 3 weeks. Disappointed. Stuck on first use. Must be busy for them collecting. Not easy for busy. You know, people leave a load of rubbish in here. You know, you just look at some of the comments. Whereas here, doesn't fit in here at all, constantly falls out. So it's a mini amplifier hearing aid. Something like that, it'd be really sorry to hear that. You do have a 14-day return policy. Please return it to us so that we can examine it. Something along those lines. But if every one of those negative comments had a reply from the seller to say, we're sorry, but we're sorry, however, we have sent a replacement, we've sent a refund, there was an error, it was a packing error. If they left that reply, that would make me really feel good, because that would say to me, this company likes their customers. They provide good customer service. Whereas by doing that, they're saying, actually, don't really care. I would not be too happy about dealing with them. Yes, they've got volume sales, but if you look at that, they've been going probably 3 years on eBay, 16,000 in the last 12 months, out of 38,000 pieces of feedback. So if they started off from scratch, they've grown very, very quickly. Perhaps that is where their problem lies, I would say. I would look at them and say I wouldn't be happy, and I certainly wouldn't be happy with the feedback they're leaving, which says, many thanks for the prompt feedback. We will post promptly. Please leave 5-star DSR. Most customers won't know what DSR means anyway, but they're asking people to leave 5-star DSRs, and they're probably sending that out as a blanket because you can automate your feedback. you can do that quite easy. So if you go into the feedback forum, this is the tip for you. Whenever you go into your own feedback, go to the hyperlinks at the top just underneath your eBay sign, go to feedback forum, and it will allow you to reply to feedback received. So as you can see, I've got some feedback here, and I can now leave a reply, and for this person I can say thank you for your comments. Okay, you've got, I think it's 80 characters, and I can leave that reply, and if I go back to my feedback forum, there you are, my reply is there. So it doesn't take too long to leave a reply, and if it is really bad, and I don't know if I can get back to that chappie there, I did look to see if there was one which, there we go, if somebody has been extremely bad in leaving their feedback and they've been seller sent unsealed used broken product instead of a new one, doesn't want to refund. Now there's obviously a problem, and it's an electric knife sharpener. That's okay, that's how they send an electric knife. That there, I would be saying, hang on, it was new. So if I've got proof that it was new, I would be going to eBay saying, I want that piece of negative feedback removed because it is inaccurate and it is wrong. If they've been in any way defamatory in it, if they've been abusive in it, then I would be saying, I take great offence at that. Fraud, do not buy. Right, so somebody shouting that I was a fraudster, I'd be going to eBay saying, that is not correct use of feedback, can you please remove it? And eBay would look at that and they would probably say, yes, I'll remove that, because they will look at your history. If this guy went out and did that, they'd probably say, very sorry, no, look at your feedback. But you can see there, that makes a big difference. And whether you believe it or not, people do look at feedback scores. They really do. So for your point of view, feedback forum, into there, follow up feedback that is left or reply to feedback, view your profile, whatever you want, but I would just simply, anybody that's left me a negative piece of feedback, I would just go in there, do a very, very quick reply to say, very sorry, however, but thank you. And very often you can get that overturned because you also have the option to ask somebody to revise their negative feedback. Because again, what you will also find here, and this goes a long way to keeping your seller ratings up. Let's have a look here. Never received the goods. Well, let's say you actually know they received them and they got them the next day. You could go to them and say, look, very sorry, yes, they did take a long time to get to you. However, they were held at the post office for 4 days before you went to collect them. So we feel it's a little bit unfair that you have left us negative feedback because we've always felt that we've done our utmost and our best. We tracked it down for you. We told you where it was. Royal Mail did say they left a card. Obviously, you didn't find it. So would you please mind altering the feedback for us because our customer service was so good? Most people will do that. They will go in and they can revise it. They have a short window of time to revise it, but they're able to go in and revise it. So even if you get a negative piece of feedback because somebody has written it there purely because they didn't know better, they're new to eBay and they don't know any better, you can go in and you can get it overturned and you can get it removed. And normally you can work with a buyer to do that. So that works quite well. So we're getting to the end of today's side of it, looking at policies and procedures. I've given you plenty of places to go and look and see what you need to do and where you need to be in this arena. What you don't want is to be like this lady here saying, my account's being closed. That's the area you do not want to be. You want to be making sure that your policies, your procedures, and everything else is working nicely. Take care of your DSRs. So have a look on eBay. Go to their help pages. I've sent you the link during the webinar. So go to the detailed seller pages. Go to their help side of it. Have a look at what they mean. Look at about how they're going to affect your business going forward. If you can get good detailed seller ratings on a regular basis, then you're going to do really, really well. I'm going to end up with a little story that we had a little while ago, quite some time ago, where we had a person that had got a reasonable amount of business going on through eBay, and they decided that they wanted to try and push a few more products out. Now, to do that, what they did was they had their account, and their husband or partner had his eBay account. So they listed things on an auction basis on eBay. And whilst they got the auction going, husband or partner would bid on the item to increase the opportunity of the item being sold. eBay closed both accounts, and they came to me and said, how could they close both accounts? Well, it's quite simple. Both accounts were registered to the same address. They were both going through the same IP address. So eBay's systems pick up those types of details. So if you've got a customer that continually defrauds, they cannot go back and normally open another account because they've got to have a different address. They've got to have a different PayPal account. They've got to have a different IP address. Their systems are geared, so if somebody goes along and they've been defrauding, they would have to change everything else behind the scenes. You link your PayPal address to it, then when you've been removed from eBay, eBay will know that that PayPal address is linked to a banned account, so they will remove that account or not even allow it to be opened. It will also store the information about the IP address, so as that IP address tries to be renewed or reused, they will say, sorry, you're not having your account here. So they do have ways and means to actually stop these customers coming back. Now, if you're going to have customers that are serially going to do this, and they're going to change their IP address, and they're going to unmask it and change something different, and go out and use other bank account details and other payment methods and that type of thing, you're going to get those. But we're really talking of minute numbers. We're talking of 0.1%. We are talking of the really, really small stuff here. When you're selling on eBay, 1 to 2% is what you should be looking at as a return or a problem. When you're selling on eBay, what you need to be looking at is your feedback and making sure you reply to negative feedback, and you also go back to that customer and say, if I resolve the problem that caused you to leave me negative feedback, will you please change it to positive feedback, or at least neutral? Because if they leave you neutral feedback, neutral as in neutral, it doesn't go for you and it doesn't go against you, it just sits there, so it zeroes itself out. Neutral feedback I'm more than happy with. And also, when you're looking at your DSRs, if somebody purchases something, send it. Send it quickly, get it to them. Most people love the fact that it arrives quickly. And if you do quick free post, you will get lots of people saying, thank you for the free post, arrived very, very fast. If you send them an email reply to a question, and again, it doesn't matter how silly that question is, you don't know their circumstances behind them asking that question. You send them a really quick reply to that question, and all of a sudden, they think you're good because you've responded to them quickly. Isn't that marvellous? Yes, it is. So what you've got to do is apply common sense to all of this and look after your detailed seller ratings. Look after your customers from the point of view, give them the service that they expect. eBay are going more and more and more down the road of giving and wanting to give top quality service. You can see that from what we were looking at a few minutes ago here, the eBay money back guarantee. If a customer isn't happy, they get a refund. End of. Simple. It doesn't matter whether the refund is from PayPal, eBay, or whether it is from you. The customer gets what they want in most of the cases. What you need to do is be aware of this. If you're looking at the feedback answer, if you're asking a customer to review feedback, go into feedback forum and you will get the opportunity to follow up and request feedback revision. So if you go into the feedback forum, so you would go into there and request feedback revision, and it would bring up the negative or the neutral piece of feedback, and you could tick that, and then you can go through and say to the customer, thank you for your negative feedback, really sorry, I felt really bad when I received your comments. We've always found that we've given great customer service. We would like to feel that you would be able to change your feedback on the basis that we can resolve your problem within the next few days. I really look forward to hearing from you. Something along those lines, that type of script. If anybody wants some scripts, drop me an email at some point and I'll put some scripts out there. I've got some that I've used many times and they've always worked for us and we just use them as templates. All you've got to do is go in there and go into the feedback forum and go that way. If it becomes a problem and the customer doesn't respond to you, it's totally unresponsive, then go to Help Center and contact eBay, and you can actually then go through and find whatever it is you need to find that way as well. So you can go through there. And again, of course, the final thing I think is not to end up like our friend here and just make sure that you have got your business working within the rules and regulations of eBay. Get to know the rules and policies. Just go get a cup of coffee, glass of wine, bottle of beer, whatever it may be. Go and get something. It doesn't take too long to go through it. It is pretty straightforward, and in all fairness, it's pretty much common sense. What are the rules for the sellers? We'll click on that link, it'll take you through. Rules for everyone overview, it's there. The prohibited items is there. It's fairly straightforward, to be honest. You do need to know it, and that's the one thing I would say. Make sure you get to know what you can and cannot sell. I've got one very quick one for you here as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into eBay for this and I'm going to go face masks. I want celebrity face masks. Celebrity face mask. Let's go with that. I think it should have been 2 words, but there you go. Now let's have a look for, this will be interesting, let's have a look for Lady Gaga, and I'll tell you why now. Have we got anybody selling Lady Gaga face masks? No, not really. Oh, they might have some in there from 49p. Oh, there we go. Lady Gaga face mask. Okay. This person does not have a license to sell this product. Whoever this person is, they haven't got a license. Lady Gaga is protected by copyright, by trademark, by everything else. How do I know this? I used to sell face masks. Until it got so competitive, we got out of the market. We used to sell them at £3.50 each. Now, what's this one? Oh, £3.95. But Lady Gaga, we even had their solicitors writing to not just us, but also to the company that produced it, threatening us with legal action if we didn't withdraw them. So also get to understand something called trademarks. Trademarks are one of those things that you have to be aware of so that you can actually go out and make sure that you do not sell things you're not allowed to sell. So Lady Gaga is one of them. So this company will probably end up with a bit of a problem. There's another interesting thing here. This photograph that they're using, they've pinched that off one of my old websites. How about that? Cheeky, aren't they? But that's what eBay and Amazon is all about. That is a photograph that I had put together for my products a long time ago. And in fact, most of those photographs are the ones that we did. And that's one of the companies that we worked with, and that's the other company we worked with. We've worked with 3. There used to be a total of 3. There's now only really 2 companies that do them, and there's only 1 that's licensed. But the competition there is so vast now that for me it doesn't work. But that is my old photograph. What do you think about that, guys? Somebody has pinched my photograph. Hey, isn't that great? I love it. I love it when people pinch things from me like that. It amuses me. But anything where you've got a celebrity, remember about trademarks. Let me just have another look at a trademark and tell you something else. England rugby ball, and I'm going to put in clock just to see if it comes up. Now, eBay and Amazon will take things off if the people complain about it, so you'll just have it taken off and you'll get a policy violation, and you don't want too many policy violations purely because, right, here we go. England rugby ball. So England replica rugby ball. They all look pretty good, no problem. But I'll tell you where the problem is on this. It is the rose. It is the rose that they use on the rugby for England. The rose is trademarked. So unless you have permission from England Rugby Football Union to actually sell that product with that rose on, you are in breach of trademark. And if you are in breach of trademark and you do not remove the item, the fact that eBay will remove it for you anyway is pretty irrelevant. You could actually end up in court with somebody saying, we want all the profits and all of the costs, etc., of taking you to court for those products that you have been selling. And how do I know it? Quite simply. We were selling some clocks that had the shape of a rugby ball, and it had the rose, and it was the rose that was trademarked, and we had them all taken off everywhere. And we didn't get a solicitor's letter on this occasion, but we got a policy violation from eBay for doing that. Now, you can find all your policy violations, obviously, in the knowledge base of prohibited, restricted items, listing practices, and things like that. But anything you might think has a trademark, or anything you sell that has got a character, so it could be a cartoon character, it could be a television character, it could be a celebrity, a personality, check that they are not trademarked. Even Lady Gaga, the words Lady Gaga are trademarked. So these people will eventually find that that could be taken off. Now, if you're a really aggressive seller, you might want to report them for selling prohibited products against trademark. So you could actually report that seller and have them taken off if they were competitors of you. That's not really best practice, but that is what does happen, and I'm telling you that purely so as you know that that type of thing happens out there. So I hope that has been useful for you tonight, especially when you get into all of this type of arena where you've got lots of characters here. Most of them are fine. If you do want to sell face masks, you probably want to use a company called Masquerade, and they are mainly licensed. So I think this particular company is probably Masquerade. Yes, I'm pretty sure it is. They sell these out at about £1.10. So here you are, you can work this out for yourself. Depending on how much you're buying, and this guy is a big seller, he buys them in at around about 65-70 pence each. He's selling them free post, I think. Yeah, so he's selling them at £2.45. So they're coming in around about, let's say they're coming in at 60 pence. He's got probably 80 pence in postage because it'll be large letter. So, and he's got his eBay fees. So he's making probably about 20-30 pence a piece on those. Nothing much more than that. And he's quite a big seller. I know of this guy, and he's quite well known in the industry. He's been going for a long time. But again, he's not leaving anybody any replies on the feedback. And I find that such 380 negative pieces of feedback. That's 380 customers that will not potentially come back to him. Now, don't forget that when somebody purchases off you from eBay, they give you their email address. So you are able to remarket to them. Obviously, you're supposed to get them opted in and things like that, but at least you can market to these people. But there is 380 dissatisfied customers there. Now, how many of those dissatisfied customers could you actually turn into raving fans that would come back and buy from you again? So you don't really want too many of these. Now here, look, they used to leave replies. Full refund upon a return. Reply. No contact made. Please reply back to our email so we can resolve this for you. Okay, then one or two. Awaiting return. Tracking as originally requested, not provided. Fully refunded. So, you know, here they used to look as if they dealt with a few things. Responded within 24 hours when contacted, no emails received. That was actually very common, is that they will say, seller failed to respond. What they tend to forget is they fail to actually send you an email, which is another reason why all emails should go through the eBay system or the Amazon system if you're an Amazon seller, because then they can see the whole history and they can also see that that customer hasn't sent you an email. Use the internal system where you can. But you don't want, there's 380 disgruntled customers there, so that is 380 extra sales you may have lost, or if you've got something that you could resell them again, it could be a couple of thousand sales that this guy doesn't make this year, because that's only in a year. So that is profit, that is money sitting on the table that he's not taking. I find that quite horrifying, and it's one of the first things I look at whenever I do an appraisal on somebody else's eBay site. I have a look to see what they're doing there. One of the very first places, because you can win customers over and you can turn them into lifetime customers. There we are, folks. That is it. I have gone through quite a lot of stuff with you tonight. My name is Andrew Whitfield. I want to say thank you all for joining me. And no, that is not me, but I just thought I would show her again, because you don't want to be sitting there leaving a I'm not a very happy person video. You want to actually embrace what they're doing and give great customer service. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I look forward to speaking to you in week 5. Thank you very much. Speak to you all again very, very soon. Any questions, anything like that, obviously drop me an email, andrew@h2so.org.